This is Sports and Torts with David Spada and Elliott Harris on TalkZone.com.
Elliott, our next guest here, dominated the American League back in the 60s. He won 2 ERA titles. He was the 1963 Rookie of the Year, a 2-time All-Star, former Chicago White Sox, Gary Peters. How you doing, Gary? How you doing, Gary?
I'm doing good.
So are you golfing today, or you're taking the day off from golfing down
No,
there?
I only golf about one day a week. I'm not golfing today.
Only one day a week? I thought once you retire, you could golf 7 days a week.
I'm getting too old. I got too many old baseball injuries, so it takes me a couple days to heal after I play.
The White Sox could use you right now. They're having a little pitching problems.
Yeah, they're struggling a little bit. They just can't get very far above that 500 mark.
And then they have to compete with a Detroit team that doesn't seem to want to lose either.
Yeah, they've been. Leyland's got those guys playing pretty good. Yeah.
Gary, when you came up to the White Sox in '59, I mean, they were playing for the World Series. Did you think, you know what, we should be able to do this every year?
No, not really. It took me a long time to get up there. I kicked around the minor leagues, and '59 I just pitched. All I did, I pitched in maybe an inning or two, but I pitched mostly batting practice for the World Series. I think I probably put him in a slump for the World Series.
So what was your first impression when you went out to Los Angeles and saw him playing baseball in the Coliseum there?
Oh, that was incredible. The crowd's in there, 104,000 or whatever it was. It was. I mean, that was my first trip to the big leagues, so I was very impressed.
Did they give you a World Series share there, or?
Oh no, I was the last 25 days they called you up.
Okay, the September
they
call
did that to me they did that. I had about 5 months in the big leagues in coffee breaks, so before I was Rookie of the Year.
So when that season when you were on Rookie of the Year in 1963, did everything just seem to click that year? Because you mentioned you had a couple of coffee before that, several years before. What made that year different than the years before?
Well, a couple things. I got a start. That was my first start after, and I only had, I don't know how many innings I had in the big leagues. I had 5 months, but I didn't have many innings, maybe, 10 or 11 innings, something like that, I think. And I played winter ball in Puerto Rico that winter. I went down in the fall of '62. And I just, I found, a good release point, and my delivery really got where it should be. And I pitched well in spring training, but, the White Sox always had good pitching, and Juan Pizarro got the flu. That's the only reason I got in Kansas City. So it was kind of good fortune for me.
And he was a pretty good pitcher back in the day, too.
Oh, yeah.
Another left-hander.
Yeah, he could throw hard. He had a great fastball the 2 or 3 years I played with him.
Now, that's not something you often see from a left-hander, with the exception of a Sam McDowell or somebody like that. Usually it's a finesse guy from the left side.
Well, back then, though, they were, the left-handers, our ball moved more, though. It had more natural movement on it. And most of it didn't throw hard enough to stop it from moving. Guys that throw real hard, their ball don't move as much because it's just because of the velocity.
When you were pitching in the American League, I mean, you had the Yankees to contend with, you had Cleveland, you had Detroit. How did you keep your ERA so low with all those great hitters?
Don't give them too many runs. We had the Yankees beat us by 1 game in '63, I think 2 games in '64. So we were in great pennant races, and it's easier to pitch when you're in competition like that. That later, the White Sox in '68, '69, we weren't in competition at all, and boy, it makes it so difficult to play when you're kind of treading water.
Well, there's a big difference, or there was a big difference at Comiskey Park, whether it's a full house or just a couple thousand people there. Does the adrenaline flow a little more easily when you have those packed crowds?
No, I didn't notice the crowds too much after I was in the big leagues a little bit. It was more, if you notice a crowd, you can't concentrate on who you're pitching to or what you're doing. And I was a control pitcher, and I had to throw the ball where I wanted to, and I was more conscious of that than I was of the crowds. But of course, it's nicer to have big crowds, whether you're pitching or not. I live down here in Sarasota, and the Rays, who play, they're good to watch, but they just don't draw for some reason.
You were a control pitcher, but what you did with your ERA is phenomenal, because usually when you see ERAs in the high 1s, low 2s, they're dominating power pitchers.
It's Bob Gibson or somebody like that.
Right, Bob Gibson, Bob Feller. And, I mean, what you did, how do you do it as a control pitcher? Because one day you might not have the control.
Well, I could throw, I threw fairly hard for my ball moving, for as much as it moved. Well, Tommy John was the same way. He had a layup, and he was there. He pitched a lot like I did, and Joe Horland pitched a lot like I did. We all had low ERAs. I don't think it requires a real hard throw. I don't know what. I think I might have been able to throw in the low 90s, something like that, but I didn't try to. I wanted to throw the ball to the exact location I wanted to, more than just throw it hard. I think that's kind of over-exaggerated nowadays. A lot of these young guys, they're just seeing how hard they can throw it. They're falling down when they throw some of them.
Yeah.
Trying to throw so hard.
What do you think of the fragility of today's pitchers as opposed to the guys,
Well, players are bigger and stronger now, but I don't know, and they all got their own trainers, and they all got a better health regimen than we had. But there seems to be a lot more injuries for some reason. I don't know. Some of the warm-ups I do when I go up to see the Rays or see a game somewhere else, they don't do too serious on their warm-up regimen. It doesn't look like to me. I don't know why they're getting hurt so much, unless it's that. But there seems to be all things, we never even heard of quads and stuff like that. And now everybody's out with quads or something.
When they lowered the mound in the late 60s, how much did that affect you and the other pitchers?
Oh, it affected us quite a bit. And I don't know if you know it or not, but in Comiskey Park, they put artificial turf in that year. And we were all sinker ball pitchers. And, of course, artificial turf is conducive to hard ground balls becoming base hits. Both those things were just detrimental to the way 3 or 4 of us pitched on that staff.
Now, who was the batter that gave you the most trouble?
Oh, probably Killebrew. I don't know that he hit a lot of home runs off me, maybe 2 or 3, but he was hard to pitch to. He seemed to be able to cover the strike zone better than any power hitter I pitched to. Most of the power hitters, if I threw the ball where I wanted to, I got him out. But Killebrew, I could set him up and throw the ball where I wanted to, and he'd still hit it. He might not hit a home run, but he'd hit it hard somewhere.
You weren't too shabby hitter either, though. I mean, you hit the grand slam against the Yankees. You had 19 career home runs. I mean, you would have hated the DH.
Oh, yeah. I didn't like it when I saw it coming in the papers after I retired. I was thinking, God, I'm glad I retired and didn't have to sit and watch somebody bat for me,
Now, what was your most memorable home run? Was it the grand slam?
Yeah, probably one of the most memorable. I would have to say, that home run I hit against the Yankees. I remember some of them, but I don't even remember all of them. But I remember that one very good.
We've had a lot of the former players on, and I'd say the majority of them say Willie Mays was the greatest baseball player ever. The only ones who say Mantle were the ones who actually play with Mantle. Who do you think was the best ever?
Well, I didn't see Willie except on TV and stuff like that. But when you get to that level, between him and Mantle, there wasn't much difference. Willie was healthier than Mantle. Mantle's he had leg problems even in the middle of his career, so that hurt him. But those two guys were undoubtedly the best 2 all-around ball players. And I think Ted Williams was the best hitter. But as far as all-around ball players, Mays and Mantle are right at the top. I would have a hard time judging not seeing Willie much.
Okay. What was it like going from the White Sox to the Red Sox?
Well, the pay was better. And the Red Sox, the White Sox were a business, and the Red Sox were a hobby for Tom Yankee. I got over there. I was player rep all those years. I got over there, and Tom Yankee and Dick O'Connell told me in spring training, because they elected me player rep since I got there, and they said, listen, anything these players want to be comfortable or happy regarding travel or hotels, just let us know and we'll do it. And in Chicago, if we had a bad hotel, I had to fight like heck to change hotels and stuff.
Who was the owner when you were with the White Sox? Was it Veck or was it prior to Veck?
Well, when I went there, it was in '59. It was Veck, I think, and then Arthur Allen bought the ball club. Well, Comiskey owned it when I first went there. When I first come up, and then Arthur Allen bought the ball club. I don't know what year, but he had that club for most of the time I was there. So I didn't play much when Veck owned it, I don't think.
How does one become a player rep? Does everybody else step backwards when they say they're looking for volunteers?
Yeah, that's one thing. Back then it was really a tough job because the owners didn't even want to meet with us. And I still think in Boston I got along good with the general manager up there until we had to strike in '72, which in the spring of '72 it shortened the season, the first really major strike, and they didn't like me as well after that. I know I got taken out of the starting rotation that year. Ray Culp was my assistant. We both didn't get any more starts after about the first 3 weeks of the season. So
pure coincidence, right?
Yeah, back in those days, what else could it be?
Did you enjoy playing at Fenway Park?
Oh yeah, I did. I thought Fenway, it hurt. It costs pitchers something, but it helps pitchers too. A lot of left-handers come in, especially guys coming in there, right-handed hitters. They get up on top of the plate and they want to pull the ball all the time. And for a guy that I could throw the ball on the inside part of the plate pretty good. And when you can pitch inside there, the hitters are too close to the plate, so they're easy to jam. And there's a lot of room in right center where a low ball sinker ball pitcher like me, they hit a lot of balls. If they hit it in the air, they hit it out that way a lot. So it was both an advantage and a disadvantage. I think in the long run, it's probably even Steven, as far as helping you and hurting.
What was your favorite park to play in?
Oh, the old Comiskey Park, I'd have to say, and then Yankee Stadium. Well, those three, Comiskey Park, Yankee Stadium, and Fenway, were really to me, the big league ballparks. They were all great ballparks to play in. When you first play in Yankee Stadium, I don't care where you play, it's a thrill when you walk out in that field.
I mean, when you face the Yankees, they had all those future Hall of Famers. Did you ever say to yourself, you know what? They have the best talent money can buy.
Well, they were a good team, and back then they developed a lot of their own players. It wasn't like they do now, but they bought a lot of players. Not as many as they do now, but they got a lot of players from Kansas City. We used to say, well, Kansas City's the Yankee farm club, because guy would have a good year in Kansas City, and then the next year he'd be with the Yankees. But their lineup back then was like it is now. It's just there's no rest stops in the lineup. Every guy comes up there, you got to bear down on.
Okay. What do you think of player salaries nowadays?
Well, I think, like I say, when I was player rep, the owners, we had to hire Marvin Miller to get him to even pay any attention to us, and we had very little horsepower. And nowadays, I think the players got too much horsepower nowadays. I think the salaries are. Some guys that are mediocre players are making too much money. The big guys that draw the people in the ballpark, I think they need to make a lot of money. But there's guys hitting .220 and making $8 million and stuff like that, which seems high to me. But I'm so far away from it now. It's hard. I'm sure if I was playing now and not winning, I'd still want one of those big salaries. I mean, I even there's a broadcaster down here. I see fellows talking to me about that. I said, well, don't tell me you wouldn't take $10 million if they paid you $10 million to write a column.
Yeah. How surprising is it that Marvin Miller's not in the Hall of Fame?
Very well. The owners don't want him in there. Obviously, I think the players. I've signed I don't know how many things trying to get him in the Hall of Fame. It's just ridiculous to me he's not in there. He changed the whole face of baseball, and for him not to be in there is just a joke. But the owners, they don't want him in there, obviously, and so it gets squashed every time somebody brings it up.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Peters. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Okay, thank you.
And go play some more golf. You deserve it.
Okay, we'll do it. Bye.
That was former White Sox and Boston Red Sox Gary Peters. But you made a good point about Marvin Miller. He should be in, and these players should be fighting to get him in because he made them what they're getting now.
Yeah, all those people with the nice pensions, all those players with the nice salaries.
He made them multimillionaires, and he made baseball a billion-dollar game.
Yep.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to have on a gentleman who played with the Houston Astros, had over 290 home runs. His nickname, you know what that was, Elliott?
The Toy Cannon.
The Toy Cannon, Jim Wynn. You're listening to Sports and Torts. I'm David Spada with Elliott Harris. Stay tuned.